Hello everybody, welcome back to Cure for the Common Game. Today is day number 93. 92? 93? I don't know. Whatever the film number says of my 100 days of EDH. And while we're in the 90s, meaning we're getting really close to being done with this particular project, there's one thing that I wanted to do before I finished it up, and that is address the ban list. I'm going to try to give kind of a historical perspective, as much as I can. Some of the info from the early days, the actual EDH days, are a little hard to get my hands on, but it is a format that started very casually. It started off in Alaska, believe it or not, and they speculate that it probably came from a duelist article, 1996, Elder Dragon Legend Wars, I believe. Sheldon Meanery pretty much brought the format to the public. We all kind of consider him the godfather of, EDH. So, at the very core of Commander, as we call it now, EDH, Elder Dragon Highlanders, what EDH stands for. I'm trying not to be, oversimplifying here, but is at the root of everything that they do. I say they, I mean the rules committee, because that's who governs our format, is a philosophy, and that our format is designed to promote social interactive games. We have, I can't remember who said it on Twitter, we have the only format to where you actually value your opponent's experience. It can't be everything to everybody, and nothing can, but it's a format predicated on a social contract, a gentleman's agreement, if you were, of interactivity, and it's just, and in the spirit of that, they had to create a ban list. And I guess here we go. This is what, just in case you haven't seen, this is what the official Commander rules over on mtgcommander.net. This is what it looks like. It is not a Wizards run format. As I said, it's run by the Rules Committee. And now under the Rules Committee, we have the Commander Advisory Group, full of very, very intelligent people. All of them are. And this is where you would find it. And this is what the ban list looks like today. Now, it has not changed a while. As you can see, it was last updated July 27th of 2018. They pride themselves on not shaking it up all the time. I do like it. I tried from memory and from what research I can to recreate the ban list in timestamp order, if you will. Now, some of the original ban cards, like Ancestral Recall, are banned for obvious reasons. This is just availability, and really, this is a casual format. We don't want it to be just this huge barrier to entry, for dollars and cents. And by disallowing the Power 9, all the Power 9 is, so, well, no, not all, but it does keep the barrier entry down, or else Commander would be, what, 100 card vintage? So, balance. Now, I can tell you, I played balance when I was pulling balance from 4th edition packs, and this is not even close to a fair Magic card. Which is really funny. The card name is Balance, but I have never cast it when it has been balanced. They're always, because as the caster, you have it, and it is, it can be a Mind Twist, a Wrath of God, and an Armageddon all at the same time. Yeah, I've done that, and sacked everything I have for an advantage. And also, we have a factor of, we play a multiplayer format, and how long do you want to spend on one game, right? And Balance is one of those cards that you can just drag out the game forever. Biorhythm. Biorhythm is another card that is, I stand behind it being on the ban list here. It's mana production is super, super easy in our format, especially, for green. And the ability to just run this out there, you could play this in Commander as quickly as to what? You can do Mana Flare type effects on turn 3, so turn 4 you cast Biorhythm and just end the game. It does kind of violate the interactivity part of that agreement. Black Lotus, of course, the same thing as Ancestral Recall. It's just it's a power level availability wallet kind of thing. Now Channel. Ooh. Channel is outstanding. It's one of the cards that gave Channel Fireball its name, that combo. I mean, I have Channel Mind Twisted. I have Channel whatever. I have Channel Stroke of Genius. I mean, I've done quite a few horrible things with Channel over the years, and it's too easy mana production, especially in a format where we start off with 40 life. Now, Coalition Victory is probably one of the most debated. It is on our ban list for a reason, and I do understand it. I actually pretty much stand behind every card on this list because I've played with them, and they are, ooh. Anyway, besides this being, spectacularly colorful card, art and actual mana cost, this doesn't have, yes, there are a lot of alternate win conditions in the game, and I used to think that Coalition Victory was okay, but you know what? It's not. You win the game if you control a land of each basic land type and a creature of each color. You know what? You can accomplish that in 2 cards. 2 cards, Prismatic Omen, that we're probably playing anyway in most of our 3+ color decks. So it's not like that's a signal. And there's several creatures. That one little Transguild Courier is the 4-mana artifact creature that's all colors. Not to mention the various 5 colors. If we're running Commander, then obviously, assuming Coalition Victory was legal, we would be running a 5-color Commander. So you're guaranteed to have the creature part of it. You have to have a 5-color Commander for the deck. So it's searching up an enchantment. And I mean, the Prismatic Omen's not the only one. There's an aura that gives Enchanted Land that ability, and there's just a ton of stuff out there. And you have 1 point of interaction. This is banned for, I feel like, a couple of reasons. 1, the lack of interactivity, and 2, just for the ease of the combo. And if you cast it and you're at a table where nobody is playing blue or nobody has a counterspell, the game's just over. And that's, we don't kind of want to live in that format. We really don't, where that's possible. So I get it. And yes, there are other combos that can be broken. And we are, as I said, it can't be everything to everybody. But I tell you this, it's one thing I have learned in my Friday will be 44 years on this planet. And what I have learned is being honest and open as to what you expect from the game, because there's only one reason why relationships fail on this planet. And regardless of what it is, if it's a relationship, a job, a friendly game of Commander, and the only reason why relationships break down is failure to meet expectations. That's it. And when one person is sitting down expecting to play a turn 2 combo win, and everybody else at the table is sitting down expecting to have a fun, casual game, that's why you talk before games. Hey, what's everybody playing? they might not want to tell you the exact combos or, the commander, what they're playing, and that's fine, but just power level kind of, are you going infinite with Narset? Are you, or are you playing, top hat tribal or what have you? Communicate. It's the answer to all of our problems as humans. It really is. Anyway, Emrakul the Eons Torn. Now, Wizards mailed us right before Rise of the Eldrazi. Once they mailed us all like postcard-sized Emrakul, and couldn't believe it. I actually built a deck then before the pre-release came out because, as you know, for Commander, cards are legal for Commander as of the pre-release. Not the release, but the pre-release. So I built it, had it ready for the pre-release, and that was the pre-release foil. We all got the same one back then, and built it. There's a funny story that I tell about my mother-in-law. I want to say it was Telemann Performance, my son's Emrakul, and he lost his mind, and she just proceeded to smack him down with his own Emrakul. This, yeah, it's one of those cards, I don't care what they could have costed it, it wouldn't have been enough. Annihilator 6, that protection, it's a beast. We don't want this. I mean, we really don't. If you haven't played with it and you think you want it, play with it. And this is another thing about our format is the format does encourage house rules. I mean, we had, what was it, last year, we had a house rule of the month every month to where, something different out of the wall happened. And yeah, just play your game with Emrakul and you'll admit what doesn't matter what side you're on of this Emrakul. It's not, excessively fun. Fastbond. Now, here's another one. We have the format in which we can refill our hands quicker than any other format, just about. And, man, Fastbond, to just get that far out ahead. And, the Fastbond is supposed to be balanced, quote unquote, because of the 1 damage. But here again, we play a 40 life format, and Fastbond on turn 1, living the dream would be Forest Fastbond, 4 or 5 more lands, Wheel of Fortune, keep going. Oh my gosh. Gifts Ungiven. Now, Gifts Ungiven is banned for pretty much the same reason later in 2011. I believe it's 2011. The records I couldn't find are 11 or 13. But anyway, that another card got banned. But Gifts Ungiven, it's really, really easy to collude. Now, when they designed Gifts Ungiven, it was supposed to be a drawback for 4 cards with different names because they were making cards for 60 card Magic. And what they wanted to prevent was, I want a tutor to go get 1 card, so they would just show you 4 copies of the same card. So it was a guaranteed tutor at instant speed, and that's not what their intention was. So they put 4 different names on there. Well, to us, it doesn't matter. We build our decks with a ton of redundancy in them, and we can pick out 4 virtually identical cards, and we don't care which 2 we get. Or you can more or less create the Kobayashi Maru for your opponent, even if they're not colluding with you and giving you exactly what you want because you politically have them over a barrel. You can make a choice where the choice doesn't matter. If you're playing, imagine if this was legal in Muldrotha. You wouldn't care where the creatures went. You wouldn't. Karakas. Now, this was originally from Legends and deserves to be forever banned in this format because it fundamentally breaks down. We're all playing with a legendary creature, and, you kind of have to have your commander in order to have a deck, but, I mean, you don't have to have it in play. But it does I can imagine there was a moment before when it was very, very casual back in the 1996 days. I can imagine there was a time where there wasn't a ban list, and Karakas, I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall to see that interaction. Whoa, that can't happen. Library of Alexandria, same thing here as the Power 9. I've always considered this the 10th of the Power because it is so amazing. This card, were it legal in Commander, would go, I'm going to say, in 99% of decks. It would instantly become a staple. It dictates how you play. It would, and you think it's expensive now? Ooh, baby. Now, limited resources from Exodus is totally banned, and I played this in 60-card Magic years ago, and I can tell you it needs to be. From a multiplayer, even if you're not doing the crazy land destruction thing, think about it. Turn 1, plains, limited resources. Now, there can only be 10 lands in play. And if you're playing an average 4-player game, guys, I hope y'all can play something off 2 mana. And I was the guy who built like red-white with limited resources, and I would put it out there. We would get to our 10 lands, and then I would stone ring your land and then play another one. So there's still 10 lands, and you couldn't lay anymore. And then the next turn, I would pillage your land and play a land, so you still couldn't play. So that swing, and imagine locking people out of playing lands. That means you're just locking them out of the game, and that's not what we're about. Yeah. I mean, we all kind of have that streak sometimes where we, embrace that, but limited resources it's a little bit too far across that line. And of course, we have the 5 Moxen from ABU, and there again. It's just a high barrier to entry. It's so many cash dollars, y'all. And one other thing, it bothers me that because these photos are alphabetized, that the Moxen are not alphabetically in Wooburg order. I know that's weird, but now Painter's Servant. Of course, we all know of the Painter Servant Grindstone combo. But that's not the only Painter Servant combo. That was kind of what brought it to the forefront, and that's what it was, the attention getter of Painter Servant. But there's way bigger and maybe not bigger, but there are other ways to abuse this, color thing. I mean, so many. Just even if you built your deck all protection from one color and you just played Painter Servant to choose that color, and I mean, that seems fine, but it's still pretty busted. So we got to keep the Grindstone, but Painter Servant had to go, and justifiably so. Panoptic Mirror. Here's Brian's. I could not understand when I found out that Panoptic Mirror was banned. And I know I've told this story before a couple times, but since it's on topic now, I'll talk about it again. The Panoptic Mirror, I was like super impressed with this card. I said, you know what? I'm going to imprint like a Diabolic Tutor on it, or I'm going to imprint a Wrath of God style. And that way, during my upkeep, I get to pick which one of these effects I want. And I thought I was being just so clever, having a toolbox during my upkeep. What do I want? And I found out it was banned, and I'm like, why? That's not busted. I don't understand why that's banned. And then somebody said, Time Warp. And I couldn't believe that people did that. I was like, man, you mean people do that? And I looked at it and I went, well, you imprint a Time Warp or any take an extra turn spell, and we go down to the lightning round, where it's always my turn. So yeah, it made me sad at first, but I get it. I do. Now, Recurring Nightmare is another one. It is so efficient at what it does. And it's got enchantment on it, but most of the time this is a sorcery with buyback. Because you cast it and retain priority and then use it. So it's yeah, it's glad that one is gone. Now, Sway of the Stars, of course, is any of those cards that just auto-set things. No, not Sorin. This sets, like, all the things. Yeah, it is 10 mana, but everything starts over, and everybody's life total becomes 7, and that makes for a very different game. If you've never actually played a game with Sway of the Stars, you know, obviously it's not Commander, but I have played a game where somebody's cast a Sway of the Stars, and the dynamic of the entire game shifts big time. Now, Time Vault, while not, it's probably another power card. I had a double autograph Time Vault I got rid of a couple years ago, and I'm telling you what, Voltaic Key, now I guess the Construct, there are a million ways to untap artifacts. And Time Vault, now I don't know if it still holds the record for the most times being errated, but over the years since 93, this card has gone through some functional changes. And then finally one day, I think the last one was Richard Garfield just said, let the card be what it is. I mean, it's only legal in one format anyway. And I love, like when they do errata cards to make it function as printed. I love it. Like the original Lightning Bolt, the Alpha Lightning Bolt is now the actual wording of Lightning Bolt. Time Walk, of course, here again, this is just a availability and budgetary reason. Tinker, man, I have tinkered me up some things in my day, but you know what? I'm glad those days are not in Commander. Because, okay, imagine this scenario. I'm going to play an island, a Soul Ring. No. I'm going to play a Seed of Synod and a Soul Ring. And then any 0-drop artifact. Well, I guess it would have to be a Mox or a Petal. So it's one of the legal Mox is a Petal. So, you know, Seed of Synod, Soul Ring. You know, tap it, tinker, sack the Soul Ring, or the Seed of Synod, whichever you want. Go and get your Blightsteel Colossus. You have a one-shot robot on turn 1. And it's not that hard to do if you pack out your deck with enough of the cheap or free mana. You know, the 0s and the 1s. It happens. I've done it. Oh my gosh, I've done it. And it leads to a very... Now, it was bad back when it was Darksteel Colossus. But you're like, it's 40 life. We got... No, you don't. Not with the Blightsteel. So, there's a reason why Blightsteel is steadily climbing in price. Tolarian Academy. This one, I found out the hard way it was banned. I was in the middle of a game at a buddy of mine's shop, and I played Tolarian Academy, and he looked at me and he said, Brian, now granted, this was some years ago, probably, 10 years ago or better, maybe 12, I don't know. And he says, Brian, that's banned. And I went, what do you mean it's banned? It's not that busted. And I look at my board, and I've got like 6 or 7 artifacts, and it's still early, and I went, you know what, I get it. It made me sad, but I get it. I get the fact that it should be banned. That much mana production. Oh. But now, I do kind of want the other 2 of these to complete this cycle. I don't think they'll ever make it, but... Upheaval. Here again, this is a time constraint one. Our games go long anyway, and do we just really want to do this to make it longer? Yawgmoth's Bargain is probably the most efficient card drawing machine that they have ever made. I don't care. They could have cost it 30 mana. We would have paid it or cheated it into play somehow. But paying a life to draw a card in a 40-card format as cheaply as 6 mana is... Yeah, I know this is probably the only format in the world where I can say as cheaply as 6 mana. I believe now we are into 2011. In 2011, 2013, big things happened. Now, in 2010, or 2009, rather, the Plane Chase supplement introduced the Command Zone. And that, because that's where the Plane Chase cards are. And then in 2010, Wizards acknowledged the format and named it Commander. And that's when the boom happened. We had the 2011 Commander decks, which took everybody by surprise as to how successful they are. And they skipped a year. They skipped 12 because they worked so far ahead. They didn't know it would be a success. And so they did 13 in every year thereafter. Now they've changed the makeup. Some years there were 5 decks, some years there were 4. But in 2011, they kind of said, well, we need to get right with a few cards. And Sylvan Primordial was one of them. Sylvan Primordial. No, you know what? I think we're not there yet. Pretty sure we're not there yet, yeah. Either way, Sylvan Primordial. Destroy a non-target permanent. This is just ripe for abuse and bouncing and blinking, and it's very, very oppressive because it does target each opponent. Grisselbrand. Now, it don't take a lot of explanation to see why this one was. I actually saw this previewed, and I started building a deck before the set was ever out, and then they were like, no, don't get it twisted. You're not playing with Grisselbrand in Commander, which I get it. We're going to cheat this guy into play. Paying 7 life to draw 7 cards. This is insane. Flying lifelink too. So he's going to replenish the life, and you just, he attacks for 7, and you draw 7, and it's woo, yeah. My boy Primetime. Now this one, land combos and mana acceleration is just. I can't tell you how many times I have been like. Cast Primetime, I have a Merit Lage, or just to go and get the Cradle, or just so many ridiculous things. It was, now I appreciate this card. I play it in Modern. As a matter of fact, this card's the only reason why I own a Modern deck, is so that I can play with cards that are banned in Commander, I love me a Primeval Titan. Hadn't got right of any mind just in case they ever come off the list, which, to be honest with you, they probably shouldn't. Sundering Titan is another card that gets just wholly abused, especially from blinking, kind of like the Primordial. Only it's colorless and can fit in every single deck if you want it to. Yeah, rough stuff. Now, Trade Secrets, this was one I had trouble wrapping my head around, and it's just, it's players colluding. That's the reason, because, it's good for me, it's good for you, we're going to keep doing this. Yeah, I get it. It is probably the most cruelly efficient card drawing spell that has ever hit the format. And I remember when it left, and I was, I was pretty good. Worldfire. Now, this is the polar opposite of what our format is supposed to be. It really, really is. Of how our format is supposed to work. there again, that gentleman's agreement. It's just, it's not. So, yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's not. Worldfire is not. Because let's face it, I would put a Mog Fanatic out there and put an O-ring on it, and then Worldfire, and then yeah. Now we're into 2014 now. This is a screenshot taken from 2014. It was before then. There's a rule that many of y'all may not know. We had kind of two separate band lists. We had a band list and then a banned as commander list, and there was 4 cards on it: Braids, Rofellos, Erayo, and Kruphix. And they said, well, because they revisited it, and they were like, so they got rid of the banned as commander list, and you'll notice that Metalworker's also on this list, and some of these cards, like Braids and Rofellos and Erayo, got banned, just banned, because it was confusing to have 2 separate ones. Is this one of the banned as commander? Can I have it the 90 or whatever, And then Kruphix and Metalworker got unbanned. So this is Braids Cabal Minion, and just super, super unhealthy for the format. It really is. It's not hard to abuse it. You can abuse it with, 100 different cards. Yeah, it's pretty. Now, Erayo has the ability to... It's not the kind of gameplay that we want to support, really, is locking somebody out of a game. I mean, you counter the first spell played each turn, and yeah, it's fairly easy to flip. And of course, there are ways to, you can only play 1 spell per turn. Oh, and that gets countered. So, yeah, it's just not the environment that we want to create. Rofellos. Ooh. By the way, tomorrow is the day. Anyway, different topic. Rofellos Llanowar Emissary here is, you will not find a creature that is probably more busted in mana production than anything. I mean, it's just, I have built a 60 card deck, believe it or not. It's for a challenge that a coworker challenged me to. He's been playing a couple months, and he wants to beat me down with tribal minotaurs. So he wanted me to build a tribal vintage deck. So I built elves, and that's tomorrow, and we'll see how that goes. But I can, I have all the good stuff in there. It's Rofellos, Primetime, Fastbond. Yeah. Anyway. And this is, of course, the flip side. I don't know how I got those slides out of order. I'm sorry. Then we had, in 2015, there were no changes to the banned list per se, but they did get rid of the tuck rule. Now, the tuck rule was cards like Oblation, or cards that stuck your commander, pretty much buried it in your library. They were really, really powerful, and in 2015 they did away with that, with the current rule where if your commander would zone change, you instead may put it in the command zone, and that made a lot of cards weaker, some cards stronger. And then we're off to 2016, where Prophet of Kruphix got banned. I went through decks, and I think I had four Prophets that I had to replace in decks at the time. Also, one thing that happened in 2016 is that the rules changed to where that we can make mana of any color, as where we can only build our decks with cards of color identity of our commander. Before this change, we couldn't even make mana. Like if you control magic somebody else's creature with a color that you didn't have, but yet you had, a Cryptolith or a City of Brass or something that lets you create mana of any color, you could not create mana that wasn't in your identity, which they changed to where now we can make mana of any color. Then in 2017, we have Leovold, Emissary of Trest. Now, this is, each opponent can't draw more than one card per turn. That's a big one. Whenever you or a permanent you control becomes a target of a spell or ability opponent controls, you can draw a card. This guy instantly went competitive EDH, and he just... I was glad to see this one go. Now, also at the same time, Protean Hulk got unbanned because I like to see the changes up and down. But the one thing that I wanted, I think every card on this list probably, as of right now, does deserve to be there. They all can create problems. Now, down the road, rules changes can happen, formatting changes can happen, and some of these cards may not be that big of a deal in the future, but that is why they meet quarterly. That is why they have created the Commander Advisory Group to have more eyes on the topic. I mean, we have a huge format now. It's way bigger than it was in 2010 when it got the Commander name. I mean, it's probably the most popular format that there is, and maybe have ever been. Commander comprises a lot of the Invisibles. The Invisibles is a term that Wizards uses for people who buy and play, but they don't have a DCI number. They don't go to events. They're not easy to keep track of. And I know a lot of people like that. I know a lot of people who play Commander every single week, but they don't sign up for tournaments, and they're not going to pre-releases or Grand Prix or Friday Night Magics, you know. It's just, and this is the popular, you know, bunch of friends sitting around a kitchen table format. And that's what I love about it. I love this format, the diversity, and how, I mean, if you can dream up the idea, you can build a deck. Trust me, I've got some doozies up here on this wall, and I'm sure I'll build some more before my quest is done. But in closing, I guess, I have every faith in the Rules Committee's ability to manage the format, and I appreciate all that they do for us, you know, and thank you for this wonderful, wonderful format. But I guess that is all I have got. What are we at, 37 minutes now? So this is a pretty long one for 100 Day of Magic. But I just wanted to get this one out. I do appreciate y'all watching, and y'all let me know what you think.